The text message that destroyed my marriage arrived at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, right as I was elbow deep in the engine of a 1967 Mustang. My phone buzzed against the workbench, and like an idiot, I wiped my greasy hands on my coveralls and checked it. Maxed out your card in Miami. You make enough. Briana. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stared at those 12 words until they burned into my retinas. Not sorry, not I can explain. Just a casual announcement that my wife had blown through our credit limit 1,500 miles away. The audacity was breathtaking, even for Briana. My name's Danny Morrison, and I've been restoring classic cars for the better part of 15 years. It's honest work that pays decent money, but apparently not decent enough for my wife's taste in Miami vacations. The kind of vacations she takes without mentioning them to her husband. I called the credit card company immediately. The cheerful customer service rep, probably named Jennifer or Ashley, rattled off charges that made my stomach drop. Ocean View Resort Miami, 2 nights, premium suite, velvet lounge, bottle service for 6, sunset spa, couples massage package, Paradise Fitness Club, personal training sessions. Couples massage? I interrupted. Personal training? Yes, sir. It shows here the services were for 2 people. 2 people. Not Briana and her sister visiting from Tampa, not Briana and her college friend having a girls' weekend. 2 people, and one of them damn sure wasn't me. I hung up and immediately called Neil, my best friend and owner of Murphy's Tavern downtown. Neil's been my anchor since high school, the kind of guy who'll help you move a body without asking questions, though thankfully we've never tested that theory. Danny boy, what's eating you? You sound like someone stole your favorite wrench. Worse, Briana cleaned out our credit card in Miami, with someone else. The silence stretched long enough for me to hear the jukebox playing in his bar. Finally, Neil spoke. You want me to drive down there and drag her back by her hair? Tempting, but I've got a better idea. I'm filing a stolen card report. Jesus, Danny, that's nuclear. She went nuclear first. I called the police non-emergency line and explained the situation. Officer Patricia Moore, a no-nonsense woman with a voice like gravel, took my statement. She'd seen this song and dance before. So your wife used your credit card without permission while out of state? That's right. I never authorized any of these charges, and I certainly didn't authorize her to take someone else on a romantic getaway with my money. We'll need you to come in and sign a formal statement. And Mr. Morrison, you might want to get a lawyer. After hanging up, I did what any rational man would do. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and started going through Briana's social media. She'd been posting all weekend, poolside selfies, cocktails with little umbrellas, sunset photos with carefully cropped out companions. But she'd gotten sloppy. In one photo, I could see a man's hand on her shoulder. In another, a reflection in her sunglasses showed someone taking the picture. That's when I found the Instagram account. Go Fit Trainer Tyler. Tyler Brennan, personal trainer at Paradise Fitness Club, Miami. 6'2", artificially white teeth, the kind of abs that scream, I spend more on protein powder than most people spend on groceries. His recent posts showed the same Miami locations Briana had been visiting. My phone rang. Briana. Danny, honey, we need to talk. I bet we do. How's Miami? I can explain everything. It's not what you think. Really? Because I think you maxed out our credit card playing house with some muscle-bound moron named Tyler. Am I wrong? The pause told me everything. Danny, please. I was going through a rough patch. Work stress, you know. Tyler's just a friend who was helping me work through some issues. With couples massages? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Briana? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you decided to have an affair and charge it to my credit card. Which, by the way, I've reported as stolen. You what? You heard me. The police want to talk to you when you get back. Hope Tyler's worth it. I hung up and immediately changed all my passwords, canceled the joint credit cards, and moved half our checking account balance to a new account in my name only. If Briana wanted to play hardball, I'd show her what the big leagues looked like. The next morning brought a call from Briana's boss at Henderson Marketing. Mr. Morrison, this is Janet Henderson. I'm calling about some irregularities in our company expense account. Did you know Briana charged several $1,000s in Miami to our corporate card? The pieces clicked together like a perfectly tuned engine. No, ma'am, I didn't, but I'm not surprised. She claimed it was for a client entertainment event, but we have no clients in Miami. I'm going to need to involve our legal department. After hanging up, I couldn't help but smile. Briana hadn't just screwed me over. She'd committed actual fraud, the kind that gets you fired and possibly arrested. My phone buzzed with frantic texts from Briana. "Danny, please call me. This is all a misunderstanding. I'm coming home to explain." I ignored them all and got back to work on the Mustang. There's something therapeutic about rebuilding an engine, taking something broken and making it purr again. Too bad marriages weren't as straightforward as carburetors. That evening, I was having a beer at Neil's when my phone rang. Detective Moore. "Mr. Morrison, we've been in contact with Miami PD. Your wife and her companion are being questioned about the credit card charges and some additional financial irregularities. You might want to prepare yourself for some media attention." Media attention? Turns out Mr. Brennan has been running this scam with several married women. Your wife isn't his first victim, just his latest. I almost felt sorry for Briana. Almost. Briana came home on Thursday looking like she'd aged 5 years in 5 days. Her usual perfect hair was stringy, her designer clothes wrinkled, and her eyes had the hollow look of someone who'd finally realized the consequences of their actions. She found me in the garage where I was putting the finishing touches on a carburetor rebuild. I didn't look up when she walked in. "Danny, we need to talk." "I'm listening." "I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But I never meant for it to go this far." I set down my wrench and finally looked at her. "How far did you mean for it to go? Just the affair or just the theft?" "It wasn't theft. That's our money." "No, Briana, it's my money, my credit card, my name on the account, my signature on the application. You stole from me, then you stole from your company. The only question is whether you're stupid or just thought I was." She tried to cry then, the kind of calculated tears she'd used to get out of trouble since we'd been married. But I'd seen this performance before, and I wasn't buying tickets anymore. I was confused, Danny. Tyler made me feel special, made me feel like I mattered. You've been so distant lately, always working on those stupid cars. Those stupid cars pay for the house you live in and the lifestyle you've gotten accustomed to. Or they did, before you decided to fund your midlife crisis with my credit rating. It wasn't a midlife crisis. Then what was it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you decided you were too good for your blue-collar husband and went looking for an upgrade. How'd that work out for you? She had no answer for that. Tyler had disappeared the moment the police started asking questions, leaving Briana to face the music alone. Turned out his personal training business was a front for seducing lonely wives and bleeding them dry. Briana was just his latest mark. "The company fired me," she said quietly. "I know. Janet Henderson called me. They're pressing charges." "I know that too." "Danny, please. I'll do anything to fix this. I'll go to counseling, I'll get a job, I'll pay back every penny." I picked up my wrench again. "With what job, Briana? You think anyone's going to hire someone who got fired for embezzlement? You think I'm going to trust someone who stole from me and lied about it? So that's it? 15 years of marriage, and you're just going to throw it away?" "I didn't throw it away. You did. The moment you decided Tyler's abs were worth more than our marriage vows." She left then, slamming the garage door hard enough to rattle the windows. I went back to work on the carburetor, but my hands were shaking too badly to hold the tools steady. That night, I started documenting everything. Screenshots of Briana's social media posts, records of the credit card charges, copies of the police reports. I created a timeline of her lies, a paper trail of her betrayal. If she wanted to play victim, I'd show the world who the real victim was. The next day brought a visit from Tyler himself. I was working under the hood of a '72 Chevelle when I heard footsteps on the gravel outside my garage. I slid out from under the car to find 6 feet of artificially tanned muscle standing in my doorway. "You Danny Morrison?" "Depends who's asking." "Tyler Brennan. I think we need to talk." I stood up slowly, wiping my hands on a shop rag. Tyler was bigger than me, younger than me, and probably stronger than me. But I'd been working with my hands for 20 years, and there's a difference between gym muscles and work muscles. "What exactly do we need to talk about, Tyler?" "This whole thing with Briana got out of hand. I never meant for anyone to get hurt." "Really? What did you think would happen when you seduced a married woman and helped her steal from her husband and her employer?" "Look, man, I didn't know she was married when we met. She told me she was divorced." "And when did you find out she was lying?" Tyler shifted uncomfortably. "After Miami. But by then you'd already helped her commit fraud and destroy her marriage." "Yeah, I can see how that would be awkward for you." "I came here to apologize, and to tell you that I'm willing to testify that Briana was the one who suggested using the company credit card." I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. "You want to throw her under the bus to save your own skin." "I want to make things right." "No, Tyler, you want to avoid prison. There's a difference." He stepped closer, and I could smell his cologne, the kind that costs more per ounce than I make in a day. Look, Morrison, I'm trying to be nice here, but this could get ugly for everyone if we don't handle it right. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. Briana's not the innocent victim you think she is. She knew exactly what she was doing. I set down the shop rag and looked Tyler straight in the eye. You're right about one thing. Briana knew exactly what she was doing, but so did you, and so do I. What's that supposed to mean? It means you picked the wrong mark, Tyler. Briana might be gullible enough to fall for your act, but I'm not. I know exactly what you are. Yeah? What's that? A coward. The kind of man who preys on lonely women and then runs when the consequences catch up with him. The kind of man who comes to someone's home to make threats because he's too scared to face what he's done. Tyler's face flushed red. You don't know what you're talking about. I know you're going to get in your overpriced sports car and drive away, and I know that if you ever come back here, we're going to have a very different kind of conversation. For a moment, I thought he might actually try something. His hands clenched into fists, and I could see him calculating his chances. But whatever he saw in my face made him think better of it. This isn't over, Morrison. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. He left then, peeling out of my driveway like the child he was. I watched him go, then pulled out my phone and called Detective Moore. Tyler Brennan just paid me a visit. Sounded like he was trying to intimidate me into dropping the charges. Did he threaten you directly? Not in so many words, but the implication was clear. We'll have a talk with Mr. Brennan. In the meantime, I'd avoid being alone with him. Don't worry, Detective. I can handle Tyler Brennan. But as I hung up, I realized this was just the beginning. Tyler and Briana had made their choices, and now they'd have to live with the consequences. The question was, how far was I willing to go to make sure they paid for what they'd done? The answer came sooner than I expected. That weekend, I was having a beer at Neil's when Briana's best friend Kelsey walked in. Kelsey had been Briana's maid of honor, her shopping buddy, her partner in crime for 15 years. If anyone knew the whole truth about Miami, it was her. She spotted me immediately and made a beeline for my booth. Her face was flushed, and her eyes had the bright, hard look of someone who'd been drinking before they arrived. Danny Morrison, you snake. Evening, Kelsey. Can I buy you a drink? You can go to hell. Do you have any idea what you've done to Briana? I know exactly what I've done to Briana. The question is, do you know what she did to me? Kelsey slid into the booth across from me, her designer purse hitting the table with a thud. She made a mistake, Danny. One mistake, and you're destroying her life over it. One mistake? Kelsey, she had an affair, stole my credit card, embezzled from her company, and lied about all of it. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern of behavior. She was unhappy. You never paid attention to her, never made her feel special. What did you expect? I took a long sip of my beer, studying Kelsey's face. There was something else there, something she wasn't saying. How long have you known about Tyler? The question hit her like a slap. She tried to recover, but the damage was done. I don't know what you mean. Sure you do. You knew about the affair before Miami, didn't you? You probably helped her plan the whole thing. That's not... I would never... You would, though, because you've been covering for Briana for years. Every time she lied to me, every time she cheated on her diet or her budget or her marriage vows, you were right there helping her rationalize it. Kelsey's face went white. You don't know what you're talking about. I know more than you think. For instance, I know you were supposed to go to Miami with her originally. Your name was on the first hotel reservation before she changed it to Tyler's. That was a lie, but Kelsey's expression told me I was close to something. She needed a friend, Danny. She was going through a rough time. So you helped her have an affair? I helped her find herself. By stealing my money and destroying our marriage? Kelsey stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. You're a bastard, Danny Morrison. Briana deserved better than you. Maybe, but she didn't deserve better than my credit rating. She stormed out, leaving her purse on the table. I waited exactly 30 seconds before opening it and finding her phone. No password protection, because Kelsey had never been the brightest bulb in the chandelier. Her text history with Briana was a gold mine. Months of planning, scheming, and covering up. Kelsey hadn't just known about Tyler, she'd introduced them. She'd helped Briana create fake work trips to explain her absences. She'd even suggested using the company credit card when Briana maxed out mine. I took screenshots of everything before Kelsey came back for her purse, her face red with embarrassment and anger. Give me that. It was just sitting here. I was keeping it safe. She grabbed the purse and checked her phone, but there was no way to tell what I'd seen. If you use anything from my phone, I'll sue you. For what? Reading text messages you left in a public place? Good luck with that. She left again, but the damage was done. I had proof that this wasn't a spontaneous affair or a moment of weakness. This was a conspiracy, planned and executed by two women who thought they were smarter than everyone else. The next morning, I started making calls. First to Detective Moore, then to Janet Henderson, then to a divorce attorney named Patricia Kellerman, who came highly recommended by Neil's ex-wife. Mr. Morrison, based on what you've told me, you have grounds for divorce based on adultery and financial misconduct. The criminal charges against your wife will certainly help your case. What about her friends who helped plan this? That's more complicated. Unless they directly participated in the financial crimes, they're probably not criminally liable, but they could be called as witnesses. What if I could prove they knew about the embezzlement? That would change things significantly. I hung up with a plan forming in my mind. Briana and Tyler had made their choices, but they hadn't acted alone. Kelsey had been pulling strings from the beginning, and it was time she faced some consequences too. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I created a fake social media account. Danny Morrison might be too honest to play dirty, but Mike Thompson had no such limitations. I used the screenshots from Kelsey's phone to create a timeline of the conspiracy. Every lie, every cover-up, every moment when Briana's friends had helped her betray our marriage. Then I started posting. Not on my own accounts, where people would know it was me, but on local gossip pages, community forums, anywhere people who knew Briana and Kelsey might see the truth. The response was immediate and brutal. Briana's other friends started distancing themselves. Her sister called to yell at her for embarrassing the family. Even her mother, who'd never liked me, admitted that Briana had gone too far. But the real prize came when Tyler's girlfriend found the posts. Her name was Madison, and she was everything Briana wasn't. Young, naive, and completely unaware of Tyler's side business. When she saw the evidence of his affair, she didn't just break up with him, she went nuclear. Tyler's apartment was in Madison's name. His car was registered to her father's dealership. His gym membership, his credit cards, even his phone plan were all connected to Madison's family money. Within 48 hours, Tyler Brennan went from smooth-talking gigolo to homeless, unemployed felon. Madison kicked him out, repossessed his car, and canceled his credit cards. Then she called the police to report that Tyler had been using her family's resources to commit fraud. I watched it all unfold from the safety of my garage, drinking beer and working on engines while Briana's world collapsed around her. She called me every day, begging for forgiveness, threatening to sue me, promising to change. But I was done listening to her promises. The final piece fell into place when Janet Henderson called with an update. Mr. Morrison, our investigation has uncovered some additional irregularities. It appears your wife wasn't working alone. Her friend Kelsey Williams was involved in covering up the fraudulent expenses. How involved? She created fake invoices and client records to justify the Miami expenses. That's conspiracy to commit fraud, Mr. Morrison. She's looking at serious jail time. I hung up and poured myself a drink. Briana had started this war when she decided I wasn't worth her loyalty, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated exactly how far I was willing to go to win it. The confrontation I'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure came on a rainy Thursday evening. I was closing up the garage when I heard multiple car doors slam outside. Through the window, I could see Briana, Kelsey, and another woman I didn't recognize walking toward my shop. I opened the door before they could knock. "Ladies, what can I do for you?" Briana looked terrible. She'd lost weight, her clothes hung loose on her frame, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Kelsey looked angry and desperate. The third woman, a brunette in an expensive suit, had the predatory look of a lawyer. "Danny, this is Sarah Chen, my attorney. We need to talk." "About what?" The lawyer stepped forward. "Mr. Morrison, I'm representing Mrs. Morrison in her divorce proceedings. We're prepared to offer you a very generous settlement if you'll agree to drop the criminal charges." "How generous?" "Mrs. Morrison is willing to give up any claim to your business, your house, and your retirement accounts. In exchange, you withdraw your complaint about the credit card fraud." I pretended to consider it. "What about the embezzlement charges? Those aren't mine to drop." "We're confident we can resolve those issues once the credit card matter is settled." "And what about Kelsey's involvement?" Kelsey spoke for the first time. "I didn't do anything wrong. I was just being a good friend." By helping Briana create fake business expenses, by covering up her affair, by conspiring to defraud her employer? "I never conspired to do anything." I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots I'd taken from her purse. "Really? Because these text messages tell a different story." The lawyer's face went pale as she read the evidence. Kelsey had been sloppy, leaving a digital trail that connected her directly to the fraudulent expenses. "Where did you get these?" the lawyer demanded. "Kelsey left her phone unattended in a public place. I was just being a good citizen, making sure no one stole it." "This is illegal search and seizure." "No, it's a phone that was abandoned in a bar. There's a difference." Briana finally found her voice. "Danny, please. I know I hurt you, but this has gone far enough. Kelsey doesn't deserve to go to prison because of my mistakes." "You're right, Briana. Kelsey doesn't deserve to go to prison because of your mistakes. She deserves to go to prison because of her own mistakes. She was just trying to help me. She was trying to help you commit fraud. There's a difference." The lawyer tried to regain control of the conversation. "Mr. Morrison, my client is willing to make financial restitution for any damages you've suffered." "With what money? Briana's unemployed and unemployable. Tyler's broke and facing federal charges. Kelsey's about to be indicted for conspiracy. What exactly are they going to pay me with?" "We can work out a payment plan. I don't want their money. I want justice." "What kind of justice?" Briana asked quietly. "I looked at my wife of 15 years, this woman I'd loved and trusted and built a life with, the woman who'd thrown it all away for a pretty face and a set of abs. The kind where actions have consequences, the kind where people who lie and cheat and steal have to face the results of their choices. I've lost everything, Danny. My job, my friends, my reputation. What more do you want? I want you to understand what you did to me. I want you to know what it feels like to have someone you trust betray you completely. I do understand. I'm sorry, Danny. I'm so sorry." "No, you're not sorry. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference." The lawyer tried one more time. "Mr. Morrison, if this goes to trial, it's going to be expensive and messy for everyone involved. Surely we can reach some kind of agreement." "We already have an agreement. It's called the law. Briana committed fraud, Kelsey helped her do it, and Tyler orchestrated the whole thing. They're all going to face the consequences." "Even if it means destroying 3 lives?" "They destroyed their own lives. I'm just making sure they don't destroy anyone else's." The 3 women left then, defeated and desperate. I watched them drive away through the rain, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. The next morning brought news that Tyler had been arrested trying to board a plane to Mexico. Apparently, Madison's family had more influence than he'd realized, and the FBI had been tracking his movements. His little scam had involved more than just lonely housewives. He'd been running credit card fraud across multiple states. Kelsey was arrested the same day at her office, led away in handcuffs while her coworkers watched. The fake invoices she'd created for Briana weren't just unethical. They constituted conspiracy to commit fraud, a federal offense that carried serious prison time. Briana called me that evening, crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Danny, they're going to arrest me tomorrow. The FB, they have evidence of everything. Tyler, the credit cards, the company money, all of it. I know. Please, Danny, I'm begging you, help me." "How?" "Tell them I was coerced. Tell them Tyler manipulated me, that I didn't know what I was doing." "But that wouldn't be true, would it?" Silence. "Would it, Briana?" I knew it was wrong, but I didn't think it would go this far." "You didn't think you'd get caught?" "Please, Danny, I can't go to prison. I won't survive it." "You should have thought about that before you decided to commit federal crimes." "I was your wife? Doesn't that mean anything to you?" "It meant everything to me. Past tense." I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning, I watched from my garage window as FBI agents arrested Briana at our house. She didn't resist, didn't make a scene. She just looked defeated. The trial took 6 months. Tyler got 8 years for running a multi-state fraud operation. Kelsey got 3 years for conspiracy. Briana got 5 years, reduced to 3 with good behavior, for embezzlement and credit card fraud. I testified at all 3 trials, telling the truth about what they'd done and how they'd done it. The prosecutors called me a model witness. The defense attorneys called me vindictive. I didn't care what anyone called me. On the day Briana was sentenced, she looked at me across the courtroom one last time. I saw regret there, and pain, and maybe even understanding. But I also saw something else, the knowledge that she'd brought this on herself. After the sentencing, I drove to Neil's bar and ordered a whiskey. He poured it without comment, then leaned against the bar. "So, how do you feel?" "Like I just balanced the books." "Any regrets?" I thought about it, really thought about it. 15 years of marriage, destroyed in a weekend in Miami. 3 people going to prison because of choices they'd made. A life I'd built, torn down and rebuilt from scratch. "No," I said finally. "No regrets." Neil nodded and refilled my glass. "So what now?" "Now I get back to work. I've got a '69 Camaro coming in next week. Needs a complete engine rebuild. Sounds like therapy. Better than therapy. When you rebuild an engine, you know exactly what's broken and exactly how to fix it. People are more complicated. Yeah, but engines don't break your heart. I raised my glass in a toast. No, but they don't steal your credit cards either. Neil laughed and clinked his glass against mine. Outside, the rain had stopped, and the sun was trying to break through the clouds. It seemed like a good omen. 6 months later, I finalized my divorce from Briana. She signed the papers from prison, giving up any claim to our shared assets. The house was mine, the business was mine, and the future was mine to build. I never saw Tyler again. Last I heard, he was serving his time in a federal prison in Arizona, probably trying to charm the guards into giving him extra commissary privileges. Kelsey got out after 18 months and moved to another state. Her family disowned her, her career was over, and she'd never work in finance again. I heard she was waiting tables somewhere in Oregon, trying to rebuild her life from nothing. Briana was released after 2 years. She moved in with her sister in California and got a job at a grocery store. She sent me a letter once, apologizing again and asking if we could talk. I threw it away without reading it twice. The funny thing about revenge is that it's not as satisfying as you think it'll be. I'd imagined feeling triumphant, vindicated, victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired of being angry, tired of fighting, tired of carrying around the weight of what had happened, but I also felt something else. Free. Free from the lies, free from the betrayal, free from the constant worry that the person I trusted most in the world was lying to me. It was a good feeling, like finally setting down a heavy load you'd been carrying for miles. I kept the garage, kept restoring classic cars, kept building something honest and real with my own 2 hands. I dated occasionally, but I wasn't in any hurry to get married again. I'd learned the hard way that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. Sometimes I wondered what would have happened if Briana had just talked to me instead of running off with Tyler. If she'd told me she was unhappy, if she'd asked for counseling, if she'd been honest about what she needed. Maybe we could have worked it out. Maybe we could have saved our marriage. But that's not what happened. She made her choice, and I made mine. She chose betrayal, and I chose justice. In the end, that's what it all came down to. Choices and consequences. I was working late one evening, putting the finishing touches on a carburetor rebuild, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Danny Morrison? Speaking. This is Detective Moore. I wanted to let you know that Tyler Brennan was found lifeless in his cell this morning. Apparent suicide. I set down my wrench and sat on my work stool. I see. I thought you should know, given your history with the case. Thank you, Detective. Mr. Morrison, for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Men like Brennan, they don't stop until someone stops them. After I hung up, I sat in the quiet of my garage for a long time. Tyler was gone, Kelsey was broken, and Briana was starting over with nothing. I should have felt something. Satisfaction, regret, closure. Instead, I just felt empty. I finished the carburetor and installed it in the '67 Mustang I'd been working on. The engine turned over on the first try, purring like a contented cat. It was a good sound, the sound of something broken being made whole again. I locked up the garage and walked to my truck. Tomorrow I'd start on the Camaro, another engine that needed rebuilding, another chance to take something damaged and make it run again. As I drove home through the quiet streets of my neighborhood, I thought about balance sheets and ledgers, about debts and payments, about the price of betrayal and the cost of justice. Briana had maxed out my credit card in Miami, but in the end, she'd paid a much higher price than the money she'd stolen. She'd paid with her freedom, her reputation, and her future. Tyler had paid with his life. Kelsey had paid with everything she'd worked for. And me? I'd paid too, in ways I was still discovering. But unlike them, I'd paid my debts honestly, with hard work and truth and the kind of justice that comes from facing consequences instead of running from them. The ledger was balanced now. The accounts were settled. And for the first time in years, I was sleeping soundly at night, knowing that the books were finally clean.